Well, I'm sitting here surrounded by history and by Sheila. The history is, you can't really see it, and since I'm self-recording this, I can't zoom or move the camera or anything else. But this is the history of the Davis Comic Opera Company, which was founded back in 1973, the year we moved to Davis, and has been in existence for about 30 years. Now the problem I have here, I have a whole bunch of envelopes like this. Each envelope contains history of the show. It has the program, it has photographs, it has newspaper reviews, and then I have another box over here which has somebody's scrapbooks, it has slides, it has miscellaneous stuff. And the reason I have all this history is because I was writing an article for the newspaper. The Davis Comic Opera Company is closing its doors after 33 years. Somebody really very lovingly took care of all of this stuff. I cannot believe it. You pick up any photo out of any place here, and it has the identity of the person and the show and the year and everything else on the back of it. This is the most organized bunch of junk I have seen in my life. Back in 1976, I collaborated with a couple of other women, and we produced this history book, The Lamplighters, 25 Years of Gilbert and Sullivan in San Francisco. They very kindly put my name on as a co-author, though I didn't write anything. All I did was to transcribe all the interviews. But when we started working on this book, what we were presented with was 2 gigantic garbage bags filled with this kind of stuff. Photographs, newspaper articles, in absolutely no order whatsoever. And out of it we created something like this, which we then donated to the San Francisco Performing Arts Archives. The book was a good seller. People who subscribed to the company, people who'd enjoyed the company for years, bought the book, and we practically have sold out of it. 10 years later, after my best friend Gilbert died, since the last 10 years of his life had been filled with a number of minor accomplishments that I really wanted to have recorded someplace, we did a follow-up to the Lamplighter history called The Lamplighter Story, 1977 to 1987. This one I wrote most of. Carolyn was out of the project by then, and Allison helped me with it a bit, but this was my baby because this was also my story, and that's my friend Gilbert. Now the advantage of writing these books is the Lamplighters is still going on after 50 years. So there's an audience, there was a process, there was a company that could pay for, this was an in-house publication, there was a company that could pay for the publication. So now we have a company that's going out of business, and we have all this marvelous history. We became involved with the Davis Comic Opera Company probably the year after we moved here. I did publicity for the company for many years. Jerry actually designed a set. It was at the time when she was at UC Davis studying to be a scenic designer. Performed once. He didn't have any lines. He's not an actor. He's not a singer, but he was the solicitor in Patience. And I really am sorry I don't have a videotape of that. I checked our videotapes, and we don't have that on videotape. But he was in the show one time. He's been the technical director for the company for more than 20 years. So our family involvement has really been the entire life of this company. But what do you do with stuff like this when the company doesn't cease to exist anymore? There's no mechanism for publishing a book. There's no way of marketing it to an audience. And the reason why the company is dissolving after all this time is because we've lost the audience. So there's no audience to market it to. And yet, I mean, this box has this is Davis musical theater history in here. There are people in here who've performed with the company for years. There are people in here who are no longer with us. And it's just a marvelous thing to have. Oh, what do you do with it? Fortunately, this is not my stuff. I borrowed it to write the newspaper article, and I'm going to give it back to the guy who has had it. It's actually his problem. But it's really a funny thing about history, you know? I look at this and I see the value of it, and I see the importance of it, and I see the historical significance. And, you know, granted, Davis is not New York, but we do have a lot of theater around here, and I think there is a value to knowing what the performing arts history has been, but there's no place to put it. There's no performing arts archive. There's no nothing. So I suspect that what's going to happen when I take this back to the guy I borrowed it from is it's going to go back into his garage, and it's going to sit there probably till he dies, and somebody who doesn't understand the value of it, or who doesn't find value in it. What is value anyway? Value is, I guess value is determined by how much it means to you. And since this history has a meaning to me, it's valuable to me. But those of you watching this videotape, it's not valuable to you because you don't know anybody in here. So that's my it's not exactly my dilemma, but it's my kind of frustration that there is history here that I don't know how to make valuable to anybody else. I mean, I'm sure I could write a book, but there's no publisher that would touch it. There's nobody who'd buy it except maybe a handful of people who are still around who remember these days. So it's nice that it's all organized, and it's nice. I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to actually write a book about it. I mean, I look at this. This is a picture of a show with the founder of the company in it, who was the head of the UC Davis Veterinary Medicine Medical Teaching Hospital. Marvelous actor. This guy here, his name is Bob Sello, and he's dead now. And there are people, you know, there's pictures like this, and you know, people that aren't here anymore. And you look at them, and you remember some of them that were not very nice people. But it just there's nothing. No, this house is for a great picture. This is a guy named Malcolm McKenzie, who was a favorite around here for a long time. It's just this, and Amy Patton. This woman was wonderful when she died. Funny story about Amy Patton. After she died, members of the company got together to help her children clean out her house, and they were having this giant garage sale in front of her home. And somebody was carrying out all the stuff, you know, all the old vases and all this old stuff. And they brought out this old vase, and her daughter looked at it and, "Oh, no, don't sell that. That's Mother. Her ashes were in the vase." Anyway, this is the history of the Davis Comic Opera Company. I've just written a big major article about it that's going to be in the paper on Thursday. I'm going to turn all this stuff back, and I'm just going to feel kind of wistful because there's nothing that can be done with this except sit in a box for the rest of till it gets burned up by somebody.